Welcome to Marvel Champions Podcast, a podcast about Marvel Champions, the card game. I'm your host, Scott, and with me as always, my co-host, Ryan.
Hello, sir. How are you doing today?
Doing all right, waiting on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to come out. So they've
I know.
ruined all my plans, so.
I know. This whole shifting of the dates has not been kind to our schedules, but we will make it somehow.
Best laid plans.
I know. But Scott, things have been a little crazy lately, especially with some recent announcements. They announced some stuff about legacy environments and such regarding the game. What's your take on that?
I have everything, so I don't think I'm really impacted much, but I can definitely see how for some people it's a big letdown and discouragement.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of emotions going on with it. But since there's all this talk about past releases and whatnot, I think this is a perfect opportunity to do another aspect accountability and going through some of these aspects and the cards that are in them.
All right, Ryan. We've done a couple of these so far.
That's
We've got a
right.
few aspects left, so I'm excited to see which one you pick for us tonight.
Well, I feel like we can go into a little bit of a alphabetical order, English alphabet, I guess. And the next up is your favorite, leadership.
All my friends, my super friends.
That's right. Leadership was known as the strongest aspect in the beginning of the game. I don't know if people still think that, but I'm excited to get into the cards and see how they stack up.
So that's a good question, Ryan. Do you think from like the beginning of the game, like leadership had its, heyday, and then as the other aspects kind of built up their card pools, everyone just kind of got away from leadership or kind of got burnt out from leadership? What's your take on that?
I wonder if the introduction of newer villains and keywords such as like more prevalence of overkill and scenarios that minus the positivity of allies, that was a phrase I just said.
Yeah, that was really good English.
But basically, leadership has a lot of allies, and they're great for blocking. And when scenarios started coming out that made jump blocking less positive, I think you started to see a little bit less of the leadership domination.
Okay, so a lot less playing strategy of just put a bunch of allies, use them once or twice, and then just let the villain take them out.
Yeah. No, I definitely think leadership is still really strong, but I think it's balanced out a little bit more. I think I don't want to go too far into it, but I think protection was probably the weakest, and I think it's become one of the stronger aspects.
Okay. Well, Ryan, when you think of leadership, what are some of the either concepts or keywords or mechanics within leadership that you think of?
Well, absolutely. The number one thing for leadership is allies. You, as a hero, are becoming a leader to a group of allies, and there are tons in this aspect. But not only that, there are tons of upgrades that are specifically for allies and events and so on and so forth. For me, it's definitely allies as the main primary objective of leadership.
Okay. Now, I think from the other ones, we've talked about resources a little bit. There's only, well, I guess there's technically 4 resource types. But
Correct.
I don't feel like leadership really has like its own resource type.
No, it kind of just does it all. I haven't like personally done the math, but I would say it's probably fairly even on the 3 main, and then
Wow.
there's a decent amount of wilds.
Well, that's a big lie, Ryan, because I'm looking at them now, and there's only a handful. I guess your resources, you could make that argument, but from like, I see 1 support, 2 allies, and no events that have wild. So,
But if you look at the resources, they've got 4 resource cards, and one of them can net you a bunch of wild resources.
all right. Well, we're not there yet, Ryan. So, you'll get
Okay.
your time to skip resources later.
Ah, you getting me all flustered
riled up.
over here. Riled up.
Bring the demons out in me, Ryan.
Man, there's wilds everywhere. But Scott, what do you think? Would you agree with the allies being the primary objective?
Yeah. When you think leadership, you think allies. And I think from like a play perspective, you think of like a Voltron build for a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
Pick one or two allies that you build on and make them do their thing awesome and or cheap. You just let them go. Hopefully keep them alive.
Yeah, there's definitely the two main strategies of toss out an ally, chump block, and then the Voltron ally, which both are very doable and effective, and in some ways absolutely dominating in scenarios.
And I think another maybe like honorable mention is like quantity. Beefing up some kind of support or something to just get out a ton of allies where you normally aren't beholden to the standard three limit.
Yeah, which does bring up an incredibly important question. If you are the person with the leadership aspect, you are a leader, and here you are chucking out allies and literally just throwing them in front of villains to get obliterated. Are you considered a good leader at that point?
You're delegating, Ryan. You're delegating.
It's the delegating aspect.
Have you not gone to your leadership classes?
Man.
See, that's what makes a good leader. Knowing how to delegate.
That's right. Hey, I need you.
Stand right here.
And if there's a giant laser beam, just take it for me. Thank you.
Right. That's an order. Don't move.
Don't you move. I'll come back later for you.
That's right. All right. What card type you want to start with tonight, Ryan?
Well, before we get into that, I do have a question I normally follow up after discussing the primary thing about an aspect, and that's the secondary. Do you think there is a secondary for leadership?
I don't think there's like this is going to sound weird, but, go English. I don't think there's like a primary, secondary for leadership, at least none that I have thought. Like, I've built some decks around different things like card draw or like readying, but I can't think of like a common secondary, but prove me wrong.
I don't think you're wrong. I think it doesn't really have a clear-cut secondary option. The best I can think of, and it's actually something I'm going to return back to later on in the episode, but I think it's a little bit of helping your other players. So in like a multiplayer setup.
Okay. So since you potentially could chump block for a whole bunch of people because you can put out a whole bunch of allies.
Yeah, so you could potentially chump block for other players. There's some cards that allow you to other players stat boost, like a morale boost. You can choose a hero and boost their stats.
Okay, so events that can benefit other players. Okay, yep.
I guess there's some supports that can also help, I think. I would have to take a look at all of them. I think for me, that's the best I can think of, is there's kind of a little bit of I'm leadership, I'm going to help you out too.
Okay.
With that said, let's talk about cards. Do you have a preference on which type of card we want to discuss first? I say we leave allies last for this one.
Okay, so we're going to turn everything up on our head. Then let's go event. I feel like we give allies and upgrades priority a lot of the time. So let's go events, Ryan.
All right. I will have to say that the card for leadership that I have most in my decks is probably Make the Call.
Ryan, that is the correct answer. That was the one I was going to say. When you think of leadership, I think a good staple is Make the Call, right? If you're playing leadership, hopefully you're building around allies and you want to get that ally you want out.
Yep. There is a part of this card, because it says action, which is cool. It's an action, not a alter ego or hero. Pay the printed costs of an ally in any player's discard pile. I don't think I have truly utilized that aspect, the any player's discard pile, to its fullest. I need to look more into that.
Yeah, that's a point I was going to make to you, Ryan, but I have a joke for you first.
No.
Do you know what Maria Hill's favorite drink is? It's Mountain Dew Code Red. This is a Code Red. All hands on deck. That's the flavor text on Make the Call.
Did you just make that up?
I did. Was that good?
It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Okay.
I should have said like a Capri Sun or something like that.
Yeah. So we're just we tied, so we didn't get two cards. So let's throw out some honorable mentions. I think
I have plenty of honorable mentions. One,
let's do two apiece. Let's do two honorable mentions apiece.
You know, I'm excited to see if we match up anymore.
Okay.
One I really like, though I don't think it's great for every circumstance, but mission planning.
Writing in, Ryan.
Yeah.
And if I can ever get it edited, you may actually see that in a gameplay, that particular card. So, yeah.
Sneak
But
peek.
mission planning's pretty good. It's a newer card. Came out in the X-Force box. That's pretty good, man. Been able to negate some consequential damage, and it's not just for thwarting. It can also be for attacks. That's pretty good.
Yeah, especially if you have like a Voltron deck, especially if you're an Avenger and you can get a Sky Cycle out, man, you can do so much with mission planning.
Yeah, that I'm with you. They pair that with an Ultron deck, a Voltron deck that can do some serious damage, almost like hero event level.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Ryan. Since you win, I'm gonna go now. Unless you're not done with mission planning.
No, I think I'm good. I'm excited to hear the one you have and see if it's the same that I have.
So mine is the I'm gonna say 90s tastic artwork of Strength in Numbers.
I think I might agree with you on that one too.
Just, I mean, being able to just get like a giant, tableau of allies out and then just draw, 4 or 5 cards, 3 cards. Pretty good.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's great for everything, but for being in the almost the original card pool, it came out with Captain America, I think, or maybe sooner. I think
No,
it's
it was Cap. Yeah, you're right.
I think it's been pretty great. I love it. I think there are some other ones we could mention. I will say it feels that leadership also has the most trait locked cards of any aspect. There's a lot of like X-Men only, there's some Guardians only, Avengers only. And so some of these just you just can't play depending on the hero. So
Okay. Well, I would be remiss if I did not mention my next one. It's Eternity. Just kidding.
of
But
course.
I have to mention the cosmic entity for each of them. So
Yeah, well, I mean, oh man, I wish they would revisit these cards because I think there's potential in this style of card. It just wasn't right that first time.
I agree with you, but it's a numbers game. I throw one random in there, it's not as good as multiple.
Yeah, and for the effect, for at least Eternity, you draw a card, and I get like there's other aspects like, well, you're not getting a bad thing and stuff, but it's like, yeah,
Yeah, I
but
wasted
I
2 resources on
might.
this crap.
Yeah, I wasted 2 resources and I might get it. I mean, so it's kind of like, not my favorite. But all right, man. Well, let's talk about your favorite type of card, resource.
Okay. I know what you're gonna say, so I won't say what you're gonna say. I think
Okay.
going with this the standard power of leadership.
Yeah, that one's a good one.
For the cost curve of some of the allies, it adds some good benefit. So I'm usually playing with 1 or 2 in a leadership deck.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the effective leadership or innovation, but Band Together is my jam. I love Band Together.
All right, Ryan, I got another question for you. Since we're talking, we hinted about legacy and current.
Mm-hmm.
On Band Together, there's a lot of kind of alternate of heroes. They had to redo a hero on there, Thor and Captain America. Which one would you rather see?
With like new releases type things.
Yeah. We'll throw Iron Man in there too. It looks like a different type of Iron Man. I don't know the storyline with the champions, but we'll say it's Kid Iron Man for fun.
I would definitely go with Mighty Thor.
Okay.
I think a new version of an Asgard would be fun.
I would probably agree with you.
It would be nice to have an Asgard that's not only attack, that
Okay.
can be a little more diverse. Not saying they have to be like really good at thwarting, just maybe not terrible.
Okay. Shots fired there. So,
I mean,
Ryan's hot take.
who's going to disagree that Thor and Valkyrie are at least good thwarters?
Hey, you're not wrong. All right. Resources. Gotta have them.
That's what they say. All right, why don't we go with supports?
Yeah, let's hit up some support. Let's see, Ryan.
This
I
one
don't-
was hard for me.
This one is tough, and I think unfortunately you have to like break it down in 2 categories. You have like all your supports, and then you have your like team supports.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pose that question to you. Which one of the team supports do you think is probably the better or best?
Ah, it's definitely between Uncanny X-Men and Mighty Avengers, no doubt.
Okay.
But I think ultimately I would rather go with Uncanny X-Men due to the resource aspect of it.
The cost reduction, yeah, I'd probably agree with you. You get the +1 health and cost reduction.
I mean,
It's
I
pretty good.
love Mighty Avengers. I've got a deck, I've talked about it on here, that I love with She-Hulk that utilizes this card, and it's chef's kiss. But man, that discount is so good on X-Men.
Yeah, considering like team training, you can pretty much, I don't know, it's pretty much getting the same thing for a lot of these. Because
Yeah.
team training gives you +1 hit points to each ally you control. So other than that, I think like a dark horse in this is regroup.
Oh, that was mine, sucker.
Yeah,
I
I've
agree.
seen us played some decks where that's come in clutch.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a huge fan of regroup. If I know I'm playing a deck where I will have at least some form of chump blocking, I'll probably play regroup.
Yeah, I never noticed it, but it has unicorn Groot on that card.
Oh yeah, look at that.
One small honorable mention, just because I feel like I always like include it, but I probably only play it like 20% of the time, is the Triskelion.
Okay, I
Like
feel you
I
on that.
add it, and I'm like, yeah, +1, but it just for some reason never tends to hit the table. But it is a shield, so maybe I'll be using Agents of Shield box. Who knows?
Yeah. No, I get you on that one. The other honorable mention that I feel that is probably Command Team. I like Command Team, and I do think it's going to get a lot more love with the upcoming Shield box.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. And Radiant Allies, that's always good.
But I do have a question for you. There is one support that I have played in the past, and I haven't played it in years, but I always want to play it, but I haven't been in a lot of Avengers focused leadership decks in a while. What is your feeling on Quinjet?
Quinjet. I think the concept I like, but I feel like it's a waiting game, right?
Yes,
So you gotta
absolutely.
play it. You put it down, it has nothing on it, right? So
Correct.
then you go to another turn, you get one time counter, do another one, do another one. So you're roughly like 4 rounds later to get at least a 3 cost ally.
Give or
So
take.
yeah, and then I don't know. It's just it's a long play.
I think one issue that I've had being able to play it is I've only really played it in 1 or 2 player games. I think this could be a lot better in 3 or 4 player games.
Are you saying because the game lasts longer,
Bingo.
potentially? Right. I
Yeah,
can see that. I think potentially to make it better, if you could reduce the cost of the card and
I do
not
agree with that. Yeah.
have to have the all of the tokens needed to pay the cost. I think you
Yeah.
potentially make it better because you could play it a little sooner if you choose to. But
I would absolutely agree with that. If there was an adjustment to the card to do exactly what you said, just reduce the cost, I think this card would see a lot more love.
other than that, to me, it takes too long to really see the benefit unless you're like super desperate and just needed to get some low cost one out to chump block
Fair enough.
or do
Fair
some
enough.
random amount of attack or thwart.
Yeah. All right, man. Any other support thoughts?
EVA, I want to like it more, I think. It's very specific though. You do have to have Phantom X in play or it goes away. You can't even play it. So
Yeah, I have found its use, but because it's
yeah,
tied to Phantom X and it's 4 cost,
he's forecast. Is that what you mean?
yeah, he's 4 cost. Therefore,
Yeah.
this is, quote unquote 4 cost. I see its advantages, but
Because doesn't he fetch
it's
it? Yeah.
yeah, he automatically fetches it. So it's got its upsides, but yeah, on its own, obviously, you can't do anything with it.
But that's like a play choice, right? Like
Yeah,
you try and get Phantom X out in order to play this and try and keep him out to continually have the one or one or one. So
yeah. I mean, it's great for if you're playing a scenario with tough or
Okay. Okay.
that one thwart would be more useful or whatnot. Or if you play Voltron deck and super jack up Phantom X, and you can start healing them like crazy. So I don't know if he's the best one to Voltron, but
There's an
you
idea.
could.
All right, right. So what do we have left? Upgrades and side schemes?
That's right. And then allies.
All right, let's do side schemes. You're the side scheme guy.
I am. And of course, there's only one true winner on this, and that is Call for Backup.
Call for Backup. Yep.
That's right.
We played New Recruits recently in a game, and it was cool and all, but I didn't get the extra benefit because I wasn't playing a mutant or X-Men.
Yep.
And I still had to pay for it to put it into play because it goes into your hand.
Yep. That's the downside of that one.
And
just goes to your hand.
Yeah. Call for Backup, you can get around trait locks.
I wish this one, and I can't remember what allies, it might have been part of a campaign, but there's allies that give you benefit if they're in your hand. Do you remember that?
I'm not sure.
What was that? I'll have to think about it. But I feel like that was the last campaign, Apocalypse or something like that. Either way.
Like playing to the missions or something?
Yeah, I think it might have been part of the missions. There might have been allies that if they were in your hand, something happened. I am going to investigate while we continue to talk. But yeah, New Recruits just has some limits that we discovered. And Rally the Troops, I find that healing allies is a hit or miss. So Call for Backup is definitely the most consistent out of the sides games.
I agree. I'm just glad it's not like play it down from your hand. I'm glad it lets you go search, deck,
Fetch
and
it.
discard. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. All right. Upgrades.
Let's
This
do
one's
it.
tough, Ryan, because a lot of these you can only attach to an ally.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, Ryan.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Oh man, it's tough. I think ultimately the one I would choose is, oh man, I don't even know if I want to choose that one now.
I have like two clear ones, I think, but they're all.
I think for
decent.
me, I have four that come to mind as the top, but I think I'm gonna go with rapid response.
Oh, I did not expect that from you.
Really? My other option that I was debating was inspired.
Well, I thought you were going to go with clarity of purpose. So
I
guess I don't know you.
You don't. I seriously was. That was in my top four. I was considering it, but then I just thought, I don't play it all the time. I definitely like it, but I don't play it all the time. So,
well, Ryan, I'm glad that you picked the right one. Rapid response.
okay.
It's just good. I think with the allies, a lot of them, when they interplay, they do something really good for you. So if you can increase the times that occurs, just good.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately what it is for me. Is sometimes it's really nice when you pay for these expensive allies to be able to get it right back.
Yeah, that's another point too.
Yeah, especially if it's like a 4 cost. If I'm paying 4 costs, then I guess in the grand scheme of things, I'm paying 6 costs, but I'm playing it twice. So I'm netting some cards, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it definitely works really good with responses when they come into play.
Yeah, when they interplay, do X. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have two more I just want to talk about. So honorable mention, I think Sidekick, probably a newer kind of mechanic of the game, a niche way to play leadership.
Mm-hmm.
That's been introduced more recently. So, and then one of my favorite card arts is in this grouping, Ryan. I'm gonna see if you can guess it.
No. What are your favorite card art?
It's not my favorite in a good way. I'll give you a hint there.
Is it? It's not leadership skill.
It sure is.
It is?
It's like, what is that mess?
Oh, bless her
No
face.
offense to whoever, drew that, but
it's not the most flattering, I guess.
there you go. Oof. There's a few cards in this game that I'm like, ooh, that was not the best art choice.
Yeah. All right. Well, I feel you. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Sidekick does get a mention. I couldn't consider it because there are several heroes that it's just not great for.
You just
Um,
physically can't play.
yeah, Sky Cycle is great if you're an Avenger or if your ally is an Avenger.
The Nintendo Power Glove is a pretty good one too.
Yes, that one's not bad. I like that one. Mission Leader. I think that one has its place. Like the idea of everybody draws cards. So it's like a Maria Hill and a Skill Investigator merged.
Like had a baby.
Maria Investigator.
Okay. Is it a skilled Maria? Maybe that's
Skilled Maria. Let's go with that one. I like that. Skilled Maria. I do want to do a quick callback. A minute ago, I talked about allies that when they go into your hand, they do stuff. I was right. It was Age of Apocalypse, and it was some of the mission cards. There are 4 allies you can get: Destiny, Blink, Morph, and X-Man, and they do stuff when they enter your hand.
okay.
For example, Blink response after Blink enters your hand, deal 2 damage to the villain.
But are there cards that you can play to like fetch them from your discard or something? So you potentially only get that when you first get it or when you draw it, right?
Well, you play with like Regroup.
Oh, that one goes back to your hand. That's right. Yeah.
So I think there's some plays with that. So basically what I'm saying is I wish those abilities would have also carried over to that side scheme, the new recruits. I think that would have been cooler.
Okay, makes sense.
Either way, I think we're ready for the grand finale of the card types.
All right, Ryan. Before we get going, without
Oh,
looking,
here it comes.
yeah, we're gonna do that after. We gotta talk about it. Then I get to play my fun game. We get to always play.
Okay.
Can you tell me the range of the cost of all of the allies in leadership? So how much the minimum cost up to the maximum cost?
Oh, the maximum is 6 cost Captain America,
Okay, that's correct.
and
But the
the
minimum,
minimum is the 0 cost Ant-Man.
that is also correct. Good job,
I
Ryan.
know these things. I know these things. I mean, I know enough to at least have a podcast.
Yeah, some might not think that, Ryan.
Hey, fair enough. Let's not go into details.
All right, allies, leadership, allies. It's their bread and butter. Who you choose to be on your team? Play leadership, right?
This is hard. I would love to say Ant-Man, the Hank Pym Ant-Man, the 0 cost one that we just talked about. I would love to say that he's definitely number 1 because I really like him. I think he has great stats, and you get to choose how long he is out, depending on how much you want to pay for him. But I think we all know it's absolutely Maria Hill.
Okay, that was up there for me. And I was gonna ask you. There's been a lot of speculation she's gonna kind of fall out of favor, at least for a little while. You're playing Maria Hill. You can't play Maria
That's very
Hill.
true. That's very true.
So who do I pick? So I'm not like you. uh,
There's a couple in here that are pretty good. I know you're a big fan of Kid Omega.
I like Kid Omega cost and everything. I think for like early game, there's gonna be a couple of early game honorable mentions. I think Hawkeye was big. Squirrel Girl was big.
Mm-hmm.
Stinger's always nice. It's just cheap and doesn't add to your ally limit.
Mm-hmm.
I think a good little unsung hero. I'm gonna do 2. I'm gonna do an expensive one and a cheap one. My cheap one's gonna be Kalu.
Okay.
I
I'm
think
a
for
fan
2
of Kalu.
cost, but then his ability to hopefully maybe go get a good event for you is there. It's a little bit of risky business there, but and then I really like Beast. If you can get him out, get into a resource card. He's got 2 attack, 2 thwart. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I was thinking you were gonna say Iron Man.
I almost did. I literally looked at those 2 and was like, which one? But I didn't do Iron Man.
He's a wild resource. Just saying.
He is as a wild, and he's really good for your Voltron build because a lot of those upgrades are 1 cost,
Absolutely.
so you can stack him pretty high.
Yeah. I think he was like, obviously the way his Cortex is, he was designed to be like the OG Iron Man, or not Iron Man, Voltron, because he came out in that first wave with Doctor Strange. So
Oh yeah, he did. All right, Ryan. Now it's everybody's favorite mini game show. Have you ever played that ally? All right, we've got a lot of takers for this one, Ryan. This one I think I've known you played, so I'm not gonna pick that one. I'm gonna start out with Beta Ray Bill.
I think I have played him, but I just have not really actually played him.
Okay, scanning through here. Have you ever played Falcon?
Which
Joaquin Torres.
You got me, you little snake.
It's like a game of Battleship, right?
No, I have not played this version of Falcon.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with this wave because I doubt you played Cloud9.
I have played Cloud9.
Okay.
She has a pretty decent ability if you're focused on aerial, because you can exhaust and you choose a player. All the aerial characters get +1 thwart, so she can stay out for a while.
Sense. All right, I got a couple more, I think, here. How about Hawkeye, Kate Bishop?
I haven't played with her in a long time, but I have played with her.
That one was probably by default because you just didn't have a pool of allies to go with.
Correct.
At the time when you played it. So let's go with
she
one.
Was cheap.
Yeah, she is a cheap date. Let's go with your friend Gentle.
I think I only played him with Storm when he came out, but that's about it.
I've got, I think, 2 more for you, Ryan.
Oh, I've got one if you're not going to say it.
All right, well, I'll get there. I'll let you turn the tables on me. Let's go with Power Man.
I played him when he first came out, but I have not played him ever since.
Okay, and everybody's favorite brother, Havoc, Alex Summers.
You stole it, you little snake. No, I have. I think I've included him in my decks, and I may have played him, but no, not really.
Okay. All right, you got any more for me?
Yeah, Scott, have you ever played Yondu?
I have played Mr. Yondu. He is one I was going to talk about when we got to him. But, he's one of those special, no consequential for an attack. Is he worth the cost and the health?
That's the thing that every time I've thought about playing him, it's that cost and the health, and you have to spend more time building up before you can really even use him. I feel like
he's a commitment play. You got to commit to it.
Scott, have you ever played Vision?
I have. See, the thing is, we get some of these older ones. They were kind of some of the only ones to pick from. So I have. I don't think he's bad. He's expensive, but
I guess he had his place in the beginning.
Yeah, because his action is per round, so you potentially have a pretty big turn with him.
Yeah. I think I have 2 more. Scott, have you ever played U.S. Agent?
I have, and it's because I played Hawkeye in the Rise of Red Skull box.
Is that the only time you ever played him?
I want to say he was the only ally to have Retaliate at that time.
I think so, yeah.
So I was like, oh, that'll be cool. I'm going to let him retaliate. It's not as good as you think it is. I guess it could be for minions, but...
All right. Maybe 2 more. Have you ever played Black Knight?
I have. Same thing with U.S. Agent. It's Rise of Red Skull box with Hawkeye, and he was one of the first ones that had piercing. So... I used it to pierce. So, yes, I have.
Oh,
but it's been a long time. I will add the asterisk that it's been a long time.
I'm striking out on this one. All right. Yeah. All right. Last one. Captain Marvel.
That is a big, fat no. I have not.
I think she has her place, but that 5 cost is pretty pricey.
How do you
for me
play that? Like, you just have to commit to your alter ego hand.
You just have a good setup.
I guess you could pair her up with Power of Flight or whatever that resource card is.
Yeah, there's way to ways to lower it, but I don't know. I think I've maybe played her once. All right, that is all the types, Scott. There's any questions before we enter the final leg of this race?
Now, there's a very diverse group of allies, a lot to pick from, a lot of different stuff. So it's
I feel
good.
like,
It's fun to be able to play around with the allies and what they do.
yeah, I will say, thankfully, the ally selection for leadership does have the most playable allies than the other aspects, I feel like. But hopefully that's true because it's leadership.
I agree. Well, I have some questions for you when you get to your final leg, Ryan.
All right, well, my final leg, let's get to it. Scott, what do you hope that leadership will evolve as it continues to do releases? Hey, maybe with these changes coming up with these environments slash legacy, what do you hope leadership will move towards or develop?
That's a tough question, Ryan, because like I felt with Magneto, and there's been some prior to that, but the like ally sacrifice kind of mechanic
Mm-hmm.
was introduced, and I think there's some opportunities there. The like exhaust your ally been kind of played with a little bit as a mechanic. So luckily I'm not the game developer, so I don't have to put too much into it, and I'm drawing a blank. Got nothing good to tell you.
Well, I think I would prefer if leadership just doubled down on what we think is the
What we say.
secondary. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it should double down on it being a helper to other players. Now, that would kind of pigeonhole it to multiplayer, but I feel like that's what leadership is. It's got this huge ally base. Cool, great. Support your allies, cool. But I would love to see some more things to help the other players. I think I've talked about this, like, that was my imagining of what Maria Hill would be, but it doesn't seem like that's what's going to happen. But I'd love to see cards that are like, I make another player draw a card or allow a player to flip off turn kind of thing. Just be able to help set up the other heroes to do more things. I would love to see more leadership cards that kind of direct the battle rather than just, hey, here's an ally.
All right, Ryan, I've got something. Kind of spurred my brain here. It definitely does pigeonhole it into multiplayer, but I think there would be a cool like subset of allies that if you play them on two's really not the right word. You play them under the control of another player, and if you choose to do that, you get some other benefit. Whether that's get to putting like a status card down somewhere, but you get that additional benefit if you choose to not take control of the ally you play.
So it's like a response. Say,
Yeah.
play this. If you play this ally on another player's field or whatever,
Under another player's control, right?
Under another player's control, draw 2 cards.
Sure, something like that, and the subset of allies would do different things depending on who they are and what they do. Or you can just straight play it down and it just acts as a normal ally.
Yeah, you still get the benefits of its attack, its Thor, its potential defense. So yeah. I really like that. Scott, congratulations. You probably have had the best idea thus far.
Thank you. Tony, when you're listening, I'll just cut me a little credit here.
I like my checks in...
That's right.
Promo cards?
In promo cards, thanks.
Alternate arts, please. No, I really like that idea. I think that fits with what I'm saying, and I think that's a cool way to take allies to kind of blend those two things. Yep. I really like that.
Yeah, go me. All right, Ryan, I had some questions for you.
No.
So, what is the optimal amount of allies you carry into battle? Build a deck.
That's not very fair because I'm on the anti-ally train.
Okay.
I'm one that I'm not a big fan of a lot of allies because of how strong they are. Because they can thwart, they can attack, they generally have some type of ability, and in majority of the cases, at some point you can use them to chump block. That makes them so powerful, and when you just load your deck with 10 plus allies, I feel like it's unfair. So me personally, I think your ally limit should be around 5.
Okay. Now, you're not mean your allied limit, but the amount of allies you choose to take into a deck, to put into a deck is 5.
Yes, I wouldn't
You
go
limit
more
yourself.
than 5.
Yeah.
Yes, I personally limit myself to 5 generally, unless like if there's a specific deck that's I'm doing a lot of ally stuff. Like I think we, kind of a little not spoiler, but surprise, I don't know, whatever. When we played one of our recent games, I had I think like 7 allies, but my whole deck was around having allies, not to chump block, but I wanted to get a bunch of allies out so I can do strength in numbers and use them as card generators.
Use them as batteries, yeah.
Yeah. So my plan wasn't to use them as chump blocks, which is I think a big powerful thing for allies.
Right. Keeping them alive.
Yeah. By the combination.
It's hard to do sometimes with that.
Well, and that was the thing is it was a combination of mission planning and strength in numbers. Utilize the allies to draw cards and also keep them alive, but still be able to use them.
Yeah, I agree.
So
the other question I had is leadership kind of gets the short end when it comes to basic powers, Ryan. You do not get a basic power upgrade with leadership.
You don't.
If you could create a basic power upgrade for leadership, what would that have been?
My knee-jerk response would be recovery, because it's the only one that does not have one in one of the aspects, but it does have one in basic. I think I would have one to kind of go off what we've been talking about. It's an upgrade that allows you to, I don't know, you could exhaust it and give another player a boost on their basic, or you can exhaust your hero and transfer your stats over to someone else, maybe.
Okay. It's almost a little bit of a sacrifice in order to do something benefit to somebody else.
Yeah. I don't know how beneficial that would be, but I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, there's not much to it. I mean, really, the other option you have is an upgrade where you could exhaust and then choose one of them to add one for that round.
Yeah. You could do that. Just make it more expensive, and you just get to choose.
You get to pick. Yeah.
So yeah, make it a 4 cost and just do it as choose a hero, give them a +1 to their basic stats, and then you can use it for other players and stuff. Yep. But at 4 costs, it's super expensive, but it can be very helpful.
Get it out early.
Maybe 3 costs, but 4 sounds probably more appropriate for how powerful that sounds.
All right, Ryan, leadership. Does it have a warm spot in your heart, or does it just collect dust in the back of the box there?
I still like it. Most of the time I play it, I still find fun in it. I think the most recent hero that I've been enjoying it with is probably Kurt Wagner. And do some Day Tipper. Isn't that her name? Day Tripper. Day Tipper. Day Tripper shenanigans. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just kind of those shenanigans of getting her back out and recurring so I can get that Bamf moving. I think that's been a fun one to play with.
And I think he's a fun one to pair with allies because you're not really having to have that need to chump block with him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you can let the allies do what the allies want to do.
I agree. Yep.
So, good pairing, right? Good call.
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't hate leadership. Might be the least played for me. Well, no, that's not true. Aggression's the least played. Third least played, but I think it's still good. I mean, it's got good allies. It's got some good upgrades. I think it's probably the most playable for all heroes.
Okay, so most like universal. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the most universal. I think the only hero that really struggles with it is probably Miss Marvel because of events. But even then, there's still ways to make her good with it. So
sure. Okay. Yeah. Leadership. Is it the aspect that everybody loves? We want to hear your thoughts. And Ryan, how can our wonderful listeners reach out to us?
Okay, Here we go. If you want to give us a shout, let us know how right we are with leadership, and to give your support for Scott's new ally card ability that he introduced. And you can email us at marvelchampionspod@gmail.com, and make sure you let Fantasy Flight know to give us the royalties of that idea. Name the allies after us. But yeah, I think that's definitely one of the ways to get a hold of us. And yeah, what else do you say?
Just the tagline to head us out, Ryan.
If you want to become a champ and not a chump, why don't you continue to listen to the Marvel Champions pod, and take care of yourself and play leadership.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.